Hi, this is Bruce Buffer, your voice of the Octagon, and you're listening to MMA Mental.
Okay, I'm now joined by UFC UK bantamweight, top bantamweight, Brad One Punch Pickett, fresh off of his fight of the night performance and victory over Mike Easton. Thank you for joining us today, Brad.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So, it was a fantastic fight of the weekend. How are you feeling?
I feel good. You know, obviously, I don't have any serious injuries. Maybe just a little bit of bumps and bruises and stuff like that. That won't heal like within the week. Basically, I'll be training at the end of this week. So that's all good. I was happy to come away with a win. I watched my fight back a few times now. A little bit, disappointed with myself at times. Don't get me wrong, I don't want to moan too much, but I'm glad that I came away with a win. But I felt that I made the fight a lot closer than it needed to be, and I believe that I can fight better than that. But at the end of the day, I'm still really glad that I came away with the win. Against a tough opponent.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a fantastic fight, and credit to Mike, he really made it difficult for you. When it went to the judges, how confident were you in the decision?
Well, I was a lot more confident on the night. When I was fighting, I thought I won all 3 rounds, but I knew they were close. I knew 100% won the 3rd round the most clearest. Yeah, the other 2 rounds I knew they were close, but I believe I won. When I watched the fight back, I see how close they actually were, and I still feel that I won those rounds, but. Man, they were close. The first 2 rounds were close, but I still believe I won the rounds. But I can see how he may have an argument himself, thinking he won, or it's the same sort of thing with me and Eddie Wyland, where when I fought Eddie Wyland, I knew I lost the first round, but I thought I just pinched and just won the last 2. But then as I see it on the whole, he won the first round more clearly, so he won the whole fight. I think the same with me and Mike Easton. I finished the fight a lot more stronger, so I believe I won the whole fight, and also I finished every round stronger than he did.
Now, obviously, in true Brad Pickett style, you picked up another bonus. What was it like to get the fight of the night bonus?
It was brilliant. I'm not doing the sport just for fun. Obviously, it's my job. So when you do pick up these bonuses, it does help a considerable amount. And also, me being later on in my career, obviously, I'm not going to be doing this for a long, long time. It's took me a long time to get to where I am now. I've done it I've done things the hard way. I've fought up through the ranks rather than some people get in a fast track from TV and stuff like that. So I've had a lot of fights before I actually got to the show and stuff, so now I'm earning good money, but I'm also now 34, so I'm not going to be doing this for the rest of my life, so now I need to try and look after money and look for the future.
So you talked there a little bit about the future. How long do you see yourself fighting for, Brad?
Age is just a number, really. Age won't. My age won't retire me, my body will. So it's when my body decides that he's had enough. Because fighting is actually the easy part. It's the 12 weeks training before the fight. It's quite tough on your body, especially at a later age. Your body don't recover as fast in between training sessions, and if you pick up injuries, you don't heal as quick and stuff like that. So if I just keep myself injury free, I'll keep going. But I think it'll be a case of an injury will retire me, not my performances.
Yeah, and you say there about beyond fighting. Have you thought what you'd like to do beyond fighting?
A few things. Well, I definitely would like to stay within the sport because sport's a massive part of my life. So obviously the natural progression is to go into coaching, and I'd love to be a full-time, maybe open my own gym and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean obviously. When you've got young guys coming through, who best to be taught by somebody who's been there and done it rather than somebody who's just talking about doing it. So you're a prime example of that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's. You talk about taking the long way. Let's talk a little bit about your career. I mean, you like you say, you started a long time ago. You started in 2004. And you fought. You obviously were big on the UK scene. You fought in cage rage. What were some of your own personal highlights from fighting on the UK scene before you went international?
Obviously winning the British belt in front of my parents. I won the cage rage British champion, and that was brilliant for me. For me, when I've been doing the sport, it's never been. I never thought about being what I am now. I kind of always had small, achievable goals all my life. Where I never first started to go, right, I'm going to be the ranked top 5 in the world. It's like I started and I was like, hopefully I'll have a fight one day and then win, and then I'll win that one. Then it'd be like I want to, win the next couple. I want to get better, and then now I want to be the best guy, in UK now. And that's something like small steps rather than looking at a massive thing ahead of me and like I want to be up there when I know there's a lot to work on. So it was nice, and I mean I grew a lot with the sport as well. When I had my first fight, I went straight to pro, and I'd only been doing the sport like 6 months, and I didn't know nothing. It's quite strange.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about growing with the sport, and I mean, at the time that you obviously started on the UK scene, it's fair to say that MMA was not that established, certainly not as established as it is now. Could you ever imagine it being, as lucrative as what it's turned out to be for you now? Because obviously you put a lot of hard work in, and everything you've got, you've earned, like you say, the hard way. Did you imagine that it could be this successful as what it has been?
Yes and no. I thought it would definitely be. I didn't think it'd be as quick as this. No, I still think it's like hasn't grown to its full potential even now. It's gonna, I knew it'll be, in my eyes, number one combat sport there is. For me, it's just happened a lot quicker than I expected. It's definitely in my eyes, it's outgrown boxing already. Maybe not in this country, but worldwide, I think it has. And and I didn't think that would happen in my short career, or even beyond that. I thought it would take a long time. So this sport's been growing rapidly, and every year it keeps getting bigger.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like you said, it has. I mean, it still needs more exposure in the UK, and we are getting there. But I mean, the exposure it gets in the US is huge, and there's so many characters within MMA, especially with what the UFC does. But even outside the UFC, but within the UFC compared to boxing, there's so many young guys coming through so many weight classes as well. You obviously, I think one of your biggest breaking points was obviously getting picked up by WEC in 2009. At the time, WEC was a sister company owned by Zuffa and kind of under the same banner as the UFC. How did that come about that you got picked up by WEC?
Basically, for me, the WEC was a big thing. I think a lot of it was to do, obviously, one of my training and best friends, Mike Brown, was the WEC champion at the time, and I was training him a long time. So I cornered him for his fights, and I used to go to the shows and stuff, and he'd always speak to the matchmaker there, it was Sean Shelby, and he would be champion, and Brownie would always put good in words for me and all that sort of stuff. But back in those days, it was really hard for them to get an English fighter because of visa. They had to obviously buy a visa because they only had shows in America. They didn't have shows around Europe and stuff like that. When you use now, they got an English guy, they don't have to get a visa. They can give him a few fights in the UK first and then see how he goes. And okay, let's be over to America, then get him a visa. For me, they had to buy me a visa straight away, and back in those days, it was actually quite expensive. So for them to buy me a visa showed a lot of interest in me because it was much easier for them to probably sign an American fighter and get them to fight, than pay a lot of money to get a European fighter like myself. So for me, when they did that, it showed them, it gave me a lot of encouragement that they were really interested in me, and I went to the WC and it was brilliant. I loved my time in the WC. It was the best place in the world for my weight class, and it was the UFC for my weight class, so it was a dream come true back in the day.
It absolutely was. You're right in what you say. I mean, at that time, the UFC, it seems mad to say this now, but at that time the UFC did not have featherweight and bantamweight. Of course, those two divisions now have exploded. But one of your biggest moments within WC, and you had more than one, but obviously one that's going to jump out now, especially to a lot of people with the way things have unfolded. But you fought the current UFC flyweight champion. Of course, he's not champion. He wasn't champion at the time. Demetrius Johnson, and not only did you beat him, but you actually out-wrestled him, which of course is something that the British fighters get criticised for. What was that fight like?
To me, yeah, when I fought him, he was unbeaten at the time, and he was I think it was like 12-0 or something, and he was mates fighting in the WC. He was a bit of an unknown entity, everyone was going on. He was Matt Hume's prodigy, student, and all that sort of stuff. And I fought him, and he was tough. For me, it was a really good fight. I really got to showcase all my skills again there, and I really out-wrestled him. I think I took him down 10 times in that fight, and out-wrestled him the whole way through. And yeah, I really enjoyed the fight. And then I knew he was good, and I knew that he would get more. I didn't get as much credit for that fight as I would do if I beat him now, obviously. But he's a great athlete, and I was happy, and it's a great win for me on my record.
Now, also, I mean, shortly after that, of course, I say shortly, within about a year, obviously, we got the news that UFC and WEC were going to merge, which I think a lot of the fans were all waiting for and hoping was going to happen. How did you hear about it, and how did it make you feel knowing that you were going to make the step up from WEC to UFC?
For me, it was actually, for the fans, it sucked, because I know the fans really loved watching the WEC fight as WEC fans. They loved it. But for us as fighters, it's so much better for us because it's much more exposure for us. We're fighting in front of bigger audiences, and we get better sponsorships, better TV, sort of stuff like that, and better exposure. So it was always better for us as fighters. The fans really loved the WC because there's all the small weight classes, and and a lot of people like those fights. Now they're mixed in with UFC, which I say worked really well for us as fighters. They didn't work so well for the actual hardcore WC fans, But they got the chance for people who wasn't really MMA fans, they were UFC fans. Gave them a chance for us to see the small guys and show them that our skills and stuff like that,
I also think it was good for the UK as well, because obviously in the UK, UFC is pretty much the only American promotion we get live and we get access to, where with WEC, we knew you were fighting in WEC and we could check your results, but it was always hard to find and watch the fights. So it was nice for us to be able to see, as a UK UFC fan, it was nice to be able to see another UK fighter making his way in the UFC. So it was better for the UK fans as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a big thing. I love fighting in the WC, but a lot of people in England didn't even know what the WC was and didn't know where they could see it or anything like that. So a lot of people, me from... I remember when I come back in England, I'd be fighting and I'd be going to show them all my chance. The people were there, be going, "Oh, so when are you going to fight here again? I haven't seen you fight for ages." So I'd be like, "Well, I haven't fight. I've been fighting in America." "Oh, really?" "Oh, I don't know." So not a lot of people got to know about the WC,
Yeah, it's a shame.
I mean, now everyone knows about the UFC, and it's brilliant. So obviously, my popularity has grown a lot more in the UK with the help of the UFC.
Yeah, it's a shame because, like you say, it was WBC. They put on some amazing events, but it wasn't seen by enough people, and it's a shame. But at least you're getting the exposure that you deserve now. Not just the weight classes and the other fighters in the weight class, because there's some amazing talent in those two divisions, and of course the flyweight division as well. Now you're currently 3-2 in the UFC. Now I've been lucky enough. I'm just looking at your resume here. Out of the 5 fights, I've been lucky enough to be at 4 of them live. So what are your own personal highlights from your, what's been an epic 5 fights so far for you in the UFC?
I think my highlight in the UFC would probably be my fight with Jabon in the UK, because obviously having a name like One Punch, you have to live up to it once in a while. So doing that and also doing it on British soil after like my other British fight, my UFC debut against Henan Barral, didn't obviously go to plan. So for me to get a win on British soil and in spectacular fashion, it was a dream. So that definitely was my UFC highlight today.
I think what added to that as well was the fact that Yves Chabrine is such a dangerous striker, because that's what we all know that's what his strength is. And that punch that you landed, it was picture perfect. And like you say, it was true Brad One Punch Pickett, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's nice to live up to your name for once,
I want to ask you as well about your intro. I mean, one of the things that stands out about you, not just in your fights, but obviously I've met you in person as well, is you're very, very charismatic, and we get that in your intro. What's inspired your intro with your walkout, the stuff you wear, and the music?
Obviously, when I first started moving the sport, so I'm not just a pretty face. I know you have to be marketable as well, just to make yourself different, to stand out from everyone else. I know just see this fighting style with characters and stuff like that, but my actual, my kind of re-entrance come from was like, I'm from the East End of London, and I wanted to keep something close to what meant to me. As in, like, I know a lot of people come out to gangster music and like, and I'm thinking to myself, how many people out there are actually gangsters? There's not that many guys, And so I wanted something to represent me and where I'm from. So Chas and Dave are family friends of mine, and so I thought I'd come out to Chas and Dave up to East End of London. It represented, where I'm from, so it was pretty cool. And then also with my trilby hat and my braces, I wear those because my mom's dad, my granddad, used to be a bare knuckle boxer, and he actually died when I was quite young. But I got to hear stories about him, and I saw pictures of him and stuff like that. And he used to always wear braces and a trilby hat, so it was like a tribute to him when I got into fighting. I thought, I'll wear my trilby hat and some braces, and I'll come out to Chas and Dave, and and then it just grew from there, and I've been doing it ever since.
It's brilliant. It just adds to the whole. Because it's not just always about the fight, is it? It's about the build up, and we've seen that with a lot of people, and it just adds to the whole thing. It is, especially when you're there in the crowd. I mean, it just gets the crowd so pumped up for the fight. Now, before I move on, I want to obviously talk about what's going to happen with you next. There was also at this event just gone. There was also another big debut from another, not British but obviously Irish fighter who, looks like he's going to make waves. He was another very charismatic. What were your thoughts on Conor McGregor?
I was very impressed. He fought actually a team of mine called Michael Brimage. He chose me and Mike to talk to him. And I know how good he is. He's tough. He's a very tough opponent. And Conor McGregor, dealt with him very, very well. He actually, like he said, where I think he was way too emotionally attached to the fight. I think Conor McGregor got his head quite a bit, and Marcus got way too more emotional. And Conor McGregor was very calm, but very, very seasoned and relaxed in there, and showed some great striking skills. And I'm as a fan of the sport as well, I'm very intrigued and looking forward to see what this kid's got to offer.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about Marcus Brimage. Marcus Brimage, I met him at the weekend as well, and he's such a nice guy. I've listened to some of his interviews, but his performances in the octagon, especially his last fight against Jimmy Hettis, who's very, very tough. Marcus Brimage is a top fighter. So to beat him the way he beat them, that's what impressed me. Not the fact he beat Marcus Brimage, it's the way he beat him, because Marcus Brimage is a very, very good fighter.
Yeah. I mean, Marcus Brimage, I always laughing at him because he always gets given these tough fights. Like his last two fights, he was fighting unbeaten guys, 10-0 and 10-0 or something, and he beat both of those guys. And then I go Conor McGregor, I was like, they keep giving you some tests, but like I say, Conor McGregor, I feel really good, and. If anything, I felt a little bit cute. I didn't see enough of him. I wanted to see a bit more, see what his wrestling was like, see what his ground's like, and stuff like that. You obviously can see that he's got very good striking.
Yeah, hopefully we'll obviously get to see more of him in the future. Okay, so you've come off another big win, and another performance which we know has impressed Dana White in the UFC, which is always good. So what happens next? Have you got your eye on anyone else you'd like to fight?
Basically, I like to fight. I want to keep myself busy, so. But I know there's a lot of. I've already fought like 5 out of 10 people, 5 people out inside the top 10 already, you know. So there are others out there I can fight. I think a few of them already got matched up and stuff like that. So I may have to wait to see how some fights go. Fights that maybe appeal to me would be like Uriah Faber's fighting Scott Jorgensen, so maybe to win out of them too. I know Brian Bowles is fighting soon. He's fighting George Roop. So Brian Bowles fans, I won't mind fighting Brian Bowles. No, but these guys already got fights. I think there's one person out there who doesn't have a fight. I think make for an interesting fight would be Michael McDonald. But I think how the UFC works is normally match winners with winners and losers with losers. So I don't think they're matching up with Michael McDonald. So also another one I was thinking maybe someone like Mizugaki. He's been a long time. I think me and him would be an exciting fight. He's just won his last 2 fights. So that could be something that makes sense as well. So there's a few fight options out there for me, you know, but I just like to get back in there as soon as I can, really. And
I know you obviously took some bumps and bruises, but as far as you're feeling, there's no other injuries from the fight, just a few cuts, obviously on your face.
Yeah, just I got a little cut on my nose, and it's not even that bad. I can cut worse in training, so like, yeah, it's fine. I'm ready to go again. I can fight in a week. I can fight next weekend, body wise.
Yeah. Well, I want to say, Brad, it's been a real honour to get a chance to speak to you, especially so close to such a big victory. So obviously, 1, thank you for coming on today, and 2, before we let you go, if you want to do any shout-outs, friends, family, sponsors, and also let people know about your Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah, sure, definitely. Actually, the people obviously would like to follow me. So go to @1, as in the word 1, _punch. That'd be awesome. And also, I'd just like to thank my sponsors. I mean, more of my sponsors I have been long-term relationship sponsors, which have been awesome for me. You know, Monkey Nutrition, they helped me out so much, stuck by me. Venom, Fightwear, I've been with them for a long time now. Alien Wear, you know, I'm a massive gamer, so they look after me. Good, and Spike, and also a company called G-Form, which is a new company. They've been looking after me for a little bit, and you know, they're going to be hitting the MMA scene pretty soon. So yeah, I'd like to thank all those guys because you know they help me out so much.
Well, I just want to,
and also my training partners that I like to talk to them in Team Time. You know.
Just want to say, Brad, a big thank you for today. So, really appreciate you coming on.
No problem.